Have you got the TV remote? Yeah. Did you say no?
No.
Okay, I'll go get it.
See, he's got that attendance sheet too. I asked him for it.
Okay,
He was gonna run that up.
I'm gonna put this on pause.
I went along enough to remember. Yeah. So I think I'll call the meeting to order. I'm gonna need some water. So today we're mixing up the order of things a little bit because Steve could be in here and our special guest. Into the Zoom, I don't know what it said, probably coming a little early. I told him to be here by 10. It's like they'll probably show a little earlier. But, we're going to do this out of our business meeting with Secretary of Board President of TLC, and then we're going to have show and tell. And Steve wants to. I want Steve to be here, but that's most fun part of our normal meetings is the show and tell. Presenters, but so I want to have the show and tell, and then bring in Steve. And we'll do this stuff. So I'll introduce him at that time.
We can't hear at all.
Oh, no, dear. It's a good thing we started early.
Yeah. Okay. Now if I step over here, can you hear me? How about now?
Oh,
A little bit?
That's great.
Okay.
That's a lot better.
Okay. Well, then we have to adjust something. Again, it seems like the laptop is our microphone and it's really direction sensitive. So if I stand in front of the laptop, maybe you can hear me like this. Is this good?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. I don't know if you heard what I was saying, but I'm going to continue. So we put some on the floor so you know what it's saying? Yeah, I gotta have my mark. Anyway. So we're gonna have a visitor. I know we have one visitor, Dean Gotti. He's Dave's brother. And welcome, Dean. He's he's done some scroll work, I guess, done some signs or whatever. Want to tell us a little bit about yourself, other than you're associated with your brother somehow? Resemble that anyway. Anybody said I look like you.
I'm a retired, still working 3 different jobs, so you don't have a whole lot of time for work. You can get out of the garage. But I came here so that I could see what you guys do and give me absolutely retired.
You came to the right place. Okay, we're going to have our secretary report. The secretary report, of course, is in the it's in the newsletter, as always. And I just want so we want to have a motion to approve the minutes that were in the newsletter. Motion second. All right. All in favor of approving the minutes? All right. Thank you for that. Approved. Now we have the treasurer's report.
Okay, quickly here, last month was a good money income month, and we had 20 members rejoin, and we're at wounded income of $673. So we are now up to $3,333.74 in checking account. So yeah, and So, and secondly, if anybody hasn't got in the drawing, I got tickets, I think everybody has. And if you have dues to pay, I'm glad to take them today, so. All right, of course, we have another one who's joining us here. So, we're able to hear that, okay? I'm done. I get no response. Were you able to hear John doing the treasury report there on Zoom?
I
Yes.
couldn't understand it.
Okay, thank you.
I got most of it. Did you guys throw in a ticket for me and Mike and Bill?
I gotta do that.
Hey, we should get two.
Okay, just because you heard the treasurer's report and we have, I mean, we're in very good shape. With our treasury. A lot of credit goes to all the efforts that Gary Geis has put in with this thing he fell into with these live edge wood and was able to turn that into, you know, for a very reasonable cost. We all got some very nice pieces of wood to grade it with. So I want to thank Gary for all that work he did. And it's here, we still have more wood. We still have lots more wood, lots of it, and you have to figure out how we're what we're gonna do with the rest of it. Now, we'll go on to that. Let's see. So, Gary, I guess I'm ready for the TLC report. If you want to give that now, if you want to come up here, maybe then people can hear you better.
Up here in the spring, can you hear me from here? Okay, for February, we had a lot of cars, 266 cars. And they were cut by Fred and Steve and Cindy and Katie and Roger. And year to date, 757 cars. And birds for February, we had 23. Year to date, 29. Thank you, Fred. And paintables, we had 26 for February. Thank you, Fred. And for year to date, 43. So for a total of the cars, birds, and paintables, year to date, 829. Thank you.
Right. Okay, that's great. So normally, in a March meeting, we would hold our officer election. And there's a couple reasons, but one reason we want to postpone that until next month. Mainly because we want to give Steve Good as much time as we can with him. And we also still have a couple of holes to fill in those positions for candidates. Also, one of our candidates has agreed to run for treasurer. He's not going to be here today, so she'll be here next month. So because of that, I guess I'd like to have a motion to get this approved by the group that we can postpone our elections till April meeting. So I see Dave has made a motion. Second. So all in favor of moving elections to April? Do you want a discussion about that? I don't know all Robert's. Hold on, we need to vote. Well, we president and vice president are open for positions. Obviously, I have done my years that I said I was going to do, and so my position is open. And also the vice president is open. So think about that. We need to basically people are in this room are.
It's all our problem, if we just change the name of the president. They came up with a word.
Dictator. Okay. I'll take dictation, but not dictator. Okay. We got to vote. Oh, yeah, so all in favor of moving to postponing elections till April? All in favor? Opposed? Okay, motion is passed. We'll have elections in April. All right. I wanted to go into show and tell right now, but it's still really early, and I like it. It's good to be here. Yeah.
I got one thing, I went to the store yesterday. We went in there, we will open up for us at 8 o'clock. in the morning.
Okay, let's talk about what we're gonna do with the rock we're cutting. We can jump to that, okay? So we're gonna do 3 consecutive Saturdays, starting a week from today. We're gonna be in Maplewood. And so thank you for bringing that up, Roger. We're gonna do a rockler cutting days where we're gonna, it's PLC stuff that we're trying to cut for. And Gary has made up a nice checklist of what people need to bring. And let's see, so Maplewood will be next Saturday. Minnetonka will be the following Saturday on the 15th, I believe, 18th. And then Burnsville on the 25th. So we have volunteers to bring saws so far. And go ahead, so what do you want to say?
So we can, they're gonna open up at 8 o'clock, we'll bring our stuff in the front door. And just says yes, unless they'll bring, we just sweatshirt or something, because we're right out. In the main door. Where we're gonna be setting up, we've got plenty of outlets. So we should be good to go.
Okay,
And if you know, somebody else wants to bring a saw, we can have 1 or 2 saws, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it, hold in that, so, you know.
so the people gonna be working the Maplewood store are Roger and Gary and Katie and Chris and Don Gore. Am I missing somebody?
No, that's it, and Roger and I bring saws.
Okay,
If anybody else wants to bring a saw, fine.
anybody else? Yeah, another saw would fit. Yeah. Okay. Great. Minnetonka, okay. So I'm gonna be at the Minnetonka store along with Troy and Steve. And Mike. You're gonna be at the Minnetonka or Burn, so you can do it one. Okay. You're gonna be at the Minnetonka. Okay.
Yeah, Steve Berger and Tony. You can bring the saws, now Roger said he'd bring the saws.
Okay. All right.
So. The Brisbane.
Yeah. I want to open this up to everybody though. If you have an opportunity to come, you don't have to work there, but just come and see us. Do what I'm saying or whatever, if you don't. Or if you want to come and just pitch in for a little bit, that'd be great. Anybody? Yeah, that's what I'm fun. Just go see what's going on there and it may be doing some promotions for us. I don't know exactly, but word back on what they might be doing for us.
That's up to corporate.
Yeah.
So I asked him about that too, and he said. Corporate's going to advertise it.
Yeah,
That part is up.
right.
Well, for Brisbane, we've got John Engler, Tiffany Wong, both store bringing sauce. And we got a big company. And one is the first bar. He's gonna come and help out as much as he can. And, you know, interact with the customers that come in. We might be a little short down there at in Brisbane, in case somebody else wants to come and what we do. They bring us on to it, they're.
Jennifer Carroll, are you gonna possibly drop in?
I'll be there.
Okay, Jeff will be there.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
I don't think my arm's gonna allow.
Yeah, that's right. That's fine. Yeah, that was great.
So then, for the
do the Tonka one. You want to be taking the lead on that one, and then Birdsville Town Hanger will be taking the lead on that. So
Okay. So we'll see how it goes at Maplewood, and then we'll, I'm gonna come in the afternoon at Maplewood and I'll see what's going on, and I'll take whatever you have left over and bring it to the Minnetonka store the following Saturday. Okay. Oh, yeah, here's one other thing we probably should vote on, but the board has decided, I don't know if we have to make this, everybody, just so you understand. If we want to do a room promotion for people that come to see us there and are interested, that come to the liquor stores and take interest in what we're doing there. If they need we're gonna give them a little incentive to join us as a member for membership price. Basically, instead of $20, be $10 for this coming April to April 23, 24. So if I don't see if anybody have a problem with that, that should be that's like just getting more incentive for somebody to join. Second. Okay, motion has been made to approve that. Seconded. Any more discussion on that?
Just a piece of clarification. Does your organization have business cards, and you want to bring business cards to each of these? Because hopefully that would be the way to try to get somebody a card, they can know where you are, know where your website is, so forth.
Yeah. We do the cards actually have Russell today too.
Just to clarify our motion too, it's for $10 for just the month of
Just for
April and for new members.
new members that get introduced at the Rocker stores, that's what we're trying to promote and incentivize. Okay, all in favor of that? Opposed? Okay, good. Promotion one. So that's probably it for the Rockler cutting the thing. We can talk about upcoming programs. So we have a couple of ideas for April. One is that this is one thing that Danny actually proposed, is we do a challenge. Take our live edge wood that one of us got, and see how creative we can be with those pieces. And just bring those in, and we'll probably do some kind of a drawing for that. Or anybody that one of those cuttings can get into a raffle or a prize to be awarded for that. So that's what we like to say. The people can talk about what they designed, how they came up with their idea, whatever. They can feel like a show and tell. That'll be our program. That's one idea. Another idea is to give possibly a PowerPoint program that he could put together for us, and maybe you could talk about that a little bit here.
With woodworking and tips and tricks and things maybe you already know or forgot about. Just things it's I think it's going to be interesting. There's going to be something in there for everybody that to learn from.
Thanks. You will.
So I have a sort of recommendation, or at least something to throw out to think about. That would be that over the last 2 years, literally, we whole list of various activities and presentations. It would be nice to have that list available for people to see. These are the things that we do at our meetings, so they can see a reason to join the organization. Right? I mean, you have put a little meeting again and say, these are the things that we're covering, these are the things you can learn, and the fundamental stuff, because that will probably be the one reason people would be hesitant. What is this going to do for me? Yeah, so we really get that. So we put that list together. I think that would make us a little bit more track. We'll fix this up.
Yeah, I don't know. We really can offer them. Yeah, Thank you.
Warren, would that live edge be for April and then here?
That's what we want to decide, maybe, we'll talk about that, we'll put it in the newsletter, what we're gonna do.
All right,
Okay. But we actually saw off on that. So. Couple of ideas. All right, let's move on to our,
Show and tell. And,
Warren, I got one thing here. Oh, let's take that attendance sheet and send it around and make sure everybody gets to sign that, run that around again. Bruce, did you ever fill out one of these?
what is it?
It's a registration form for the creekside. You did?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, okay. Anybody that hasn't gotten one of these, let me know. I think every one of us probably has it filled out by now, still.
okay,
All right.
so everybody on Zoom got their raffle ticket in?
We. It was different.
Oh, let's welcome Steve Good on Zoom here. Thanks for joining us, Steve.
I appreciate y'all letting me come visit with you.
Okay. Well, we're just about to start our show and tell for the day. And we've got a full house.
So it's good to see so many faces in here. We're kind of crunched into this.
When you get farther away from the microphone, Warren, I have a hard time understanding you.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll
that's good.
stand.
Yeah.
Yeah. The microphone's very directional. So anyway, we're all kind of crammed into this. It's an old elementary school classroom. And the whole building is an old elementary school, obviously. So, but yeah, we're cozy in here and intimate. So that's good. So anybody that wants to start with our show and tell, we have a couple of tables up here. We have some regular show and tell, but then we have the really good stuff. So you might recognize some of the patterns that are on these tables here, Steve.
You know, the problem is I've done so many patterns that I can't even remember all of them either. So it'll be fun to see some of them.
3,900. That's not that many. Anybody want to be first? Go up.
We have Ron here. Roger, when you show something, we'd like you to be right here so everybody can hear.
This is one I made, I was told it's made by, the artist is Spillman. And both the doors open, it's 5/16 black or red oak. They both open up. Just kind of a fun one to do. So.
Very nice. Somebody else, please.
Are we doing good ones first? Or?
We're doing everything. Okay. If there's something special you have new. Well, yeah, I got some speed. We'll get to that.
Go for it.
All right, Steve, I don't know if you'll recognize this, but the apple, you had a worm coming out of it and I redid it.
Teacher.
It was
Yeah.
fitted. Okay,
Is your daughter a teacher by any chance?
no,
Oh.
and this, what I started to make out of some of our live edge project wood. And this piece had holes drilled in it. Somebody had already started making something on it and I couldn't tell what. So I looked around the internet to find a appropriate pattern and I came up with this cardinal. Fred said it looked like a robin. I don't know.
Very, very smooth.
That's right.
It's, good to do.
I used a water-based poly. Let's see, it wasn't matte, it was satin.
Did you sell it beforehand?
Nope, I just went over with about 4 coats of satin poly,
Of course.
about 4 coats.
You got that?
Yep. And then I did this mousse, and I had 4 coats of flat poly or matte. And I found this online somewhere, I don't know where, and I just adjusted it so it would fit on the piece. So that's what we can make with these, and I coated all the live edge four times, just with everything. It seems to be holding pretty well. I didn't get a lot of breakout, so I think it'll work really well. Yep. Very nice.
Anybody else have something, oh, Mike's done.
Anybody else have anything regular or that's before that?
I got some good stuff ready.
It didn't take long to dig around the house to find some Steve Good patterns because I've probably done 100 different things, and I like Steve's sense of humor. I always do all of his sort of oddball things, but this little Oreo cookie he had out a few years ago, it's kind of, you see it?
You know, that's one of the most downloaded patterns on my blog ever, believe it or not. I think that pattern is over 1 million now.
Really? Steve does lots of these little sayings, and this one just caught me right. This upside down thing that I guess you turn it like this, but because I always display it like this, it gets. So he has lots of those. And then we had our anniversary party this year. I made up about 18 or 20 vases out of his books. He's got 2 books he sells, plus there's some patterns out there. This 50 I added. He is usually after the party, everybody just took them. So I don't have any other than the couple we had left over. So I put the 50 onto his pattern. But these are relatively simple to make and really have a lot of people really like them. So it's a good one to do if you ever want to do some vases. So anyway, that's my Steve Good.
Congratulations on 50.
Just to give you a little background, Steve,
John is one of the founders of our club back in 2009. And so he's the reason I'm here. For one.
yeah, Steve.
Got a question. If you do things that have a trademark name on it, like that Oreo cookie, you have to pay royalty.
You know, I have had problems over the years with, there was a time this several years ago where I did a 2-part unity cross for a wedding ceremony for the 2 mothers to put the cross together. And I got an email that a guy actually has all 2-part crosses trademarked. You cannot make any cross out of 2 parts without violating his trademark. So that was an interesting one that he was allowed to trademark a religious symbol. That kind of, you know, I was expecting to meet Jesus or something like it's like who could own a trademark for a cross, but he does. So I've had problems there. And recently now the U.S. military has started becoming a little more protective of their trademarks. So the new space, what do they call it? Not Space Academy, you know, the new Space Military Division, whatever they call it. They protect their trademarks real often. And I have had 2 cease and desist letters that I had to take care of. So I've had my problems over the years, not a lot because I try to be real careful, but I have had problems.
But I believe to your question, I think, Steve, you allow people to go ahead and take your patterns, other than the ones that you're talking about, and sell them if they want to. Isn't that correct?
They can't sell the patterns. They can sell the items made from the patterns.
That's what they make. Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I don't put any restrictions. I think that's kind of silly that you would put out a pattern for somebody to make something and then not allow them to use it. I've never understood that concept, but you know.
I've got a variety of ones. This one here, which is, I made, well, yeah, right. Yeah, the camera's here. Right, so I made this for my wife. This is one of Steve Good's patterns. I made this one for myself. It sits by my bar.
Cool.
Right? This one here I made for my wife, along with the stand. And this has been one of the most requested of family members and friends to make for them. So I've made more than just one. I've made several of them for friends and family members. And of course, a little stand. Here's another one that has been a very popular item. I made this for myself and my wife because inevitably we're at the dinner table or wherever else. And we've got our phones on, and this thing here is really nice because you want to put it away. And Steve's also got another one that breaks down to a little container that you can just, you know, put in your pocket and carry. But all my family members got one of these last Christmas. Then we've got a couple of boxes. This is a knockdown box where you can just take it apart, put it away, and pull it out if you want. And then this one here, which you assemble and glue it, and you've got the little emblem there. And so I've been making these to replace my my 6-pack paper beer can holders or bottle holders, and so I've been using these now instead. That's what I've got. Yeah.
Thank you.
This one here, it's been around a long time, but I know Steve Good had it out, and
What you're showing.
oh, good. There we go. Okay, this one, I don't know if you've ever seen it before, but once you see it, boom, every time you look at it, it pops right out. It says Jesus. And I gave it to him, made one, several of them, made one for a friend, gave it to him. He took it home and he called me and he says, is that for us? He says, it looks like it's Japanese. He said, I said, go back and continue looking at it. It'll pop out to you. And another Steve Good, Pope Francis. And the angel, we've been making, a lot of these angels for tlctoys.org, a nonprofit for children and for memory care facilities. They paint them, we call them paintables, and this is a real popular one. So thank you, Steve.
You're welcome.
This is compound cutting. Jesus Christ. And then this is another one of Steve Good. This one says compound cutting, Jesus loves. This one is the Steve Good pattern with karate. And like Steve says, he encouraged people to modify his pattern, take them. And I do work with Corel Draw. And so my grandchildren, they're in karate. So I made this one and I put their name on it, Will Kieran. So this has been a pretty good hit as well. That's it.
Thank you.
One thing, I'll tell you a little backstory on Gary. Gary was a president here, the past president before myself, and for about 4 years, I believe. And he is now our liaison between our initiative to provide toys like he showed, but also we call them paintables, things that the name of the organization is called Tender Loving Care Toys, but they've done more than just toys, but they're like a Toys for Tots kind of a thing. And we have last year we submitted over 5,000 pieces to that organization.
That's
So-
amazing. Well, thank you all.
Yeah, and we've been doing that for several years. So, but
That we use.
Yeah. yeah, many of the patterns that we use are your patterns, Steve.
I appreciate that. It's always fun when you know that the patterns get used for something like that.
Yeah, I made these for my sister, who was a wild biker. Yep, and made a bunch of Christmas ornaments, but of course I gave them away.
Thank you.
I have some things here, but I want to go last. Good.
Sure, and then the camera. There we go. All right, perfect. So this is something that I had made. It was actually one of the first more attempts to try to do lettering for me. Bill went away on a business work convention or something for like a week or so, and I just slowly worked on the lettering, and I just tried to be very patient with myself and just take time, and the pattern has all the letters connected to the next word, which was just amazing. And I was just totally shocked. I made it all the way through without breaking anything in it. And then at the end of it, I think we took walnut wood here and put it on top, and then we put a little notch in the back of it so it can hang on the wall, but it actually sits on top of our fireplace to kind of remind myself to slow down, be patient, and enjoy life.
Very nice.
Yeah. Needed just a gift for or for Valentine's Day. And Steve just sent out, did I get that right? Love you, and then you would turn it. It was a compound cut if you saw it. And 2 pieces. But what I did is just take the first part, and then from the last Scroll Saw magazine, the little man and the woman, and put it together. So,
You know, I'd been trying to find the guy that designed those patterns of the people, and I didn't know who he was. And I've been doing this for years and I'd never met him. And it was neat to see in that magazine that they discussed who he was.
yeah. Sure.
Steve Harder.
Did you know we had a COVID epidemic a couple of years ago? We had, I don't know, is it over? So we had a family reunion during the COVID epidemic, or we were going to. But we couldn't get together. So we did a virtual get together, virtual reunion. And to sort of encourage participation, I made these sets of stacking acrobats that you can stack up. Kids have a lot of fun with these. So I cut out about 200 of these. Everybody got 15 to take, and well, I got them in the mail. They couldn't pick them up in person, and they got something to remember that day, that virtual get together. Really, really fun.
Thank you. Very nice.
Yeah, I've done many of those also for my grandkids. They're a lot of fun. I enjoy to try to do it once in a while too.
Well, like many of you, I've cut out lots of Steve Good patterns. But I started looking around the house, and this is the only one I have left. I've given them all away. I really love this one, just the shapes and the cutouts and fitting everything together and the colors. It was just like, I had so much fun just doing it. It was a lot of fun. So thanks, Steve.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, I'll start on mine then. So, a while back, when I was just getting going, Steve put out a pattern to store your, help you store your blades. So I made that, and I've got a lot more blades than this, but this is a nice little hand. Steve's put out a bunch of baskets, and these are really fun to make. This one, the spiral basket, I've made a couple of these. And it's really, what's really nice about this is it's all one piece of wood and you don't waste anything, basically. It's just, you just cut them out concentrically and they all stack up and you glue them together. Gluing them together is the hardest part. And this one is similar, but it's only partially concentric parts where the sawtooth comes in. The outer ring is a separate piece done with the clovers in there. You can see those there, but this one I get a lot of when I bring it to show when we're at our at our displays or wherever we go meet people. I should bring this to the state fair and stuff. It always gets a lot of attention, and kind of neat. This is another one that I did quite a while ago, and I got a lot of this, good comments on this one too, for the boys. This ship in a bottle is one of the first things I made of Steve's. This was back, I can put the date on here. Yep, 2013. That's the year I started. One of the first things I did. And I thought it was going to be really tough, and it really wasn't that hard, even though this could be done better than this, but it's pretty good. Steve, you've done so many of these stick people. This is the hockey guys. They did the goal and the goalie and the guy taking a shot. So
You know, those stick people are my most requested patterns as far as the people want more.
I did a whole chess set out of we made a chess set that we was a fundraiser at our golf course, and we did all the pieces were golfers of some sort, or the pawns or the golf ball. But this is the basketball one with the big. You always put a funny story with these too. Is this guy's name was Stretch. He's and I love all the commentary that and how you build up make a story about all these. It's great. Let's see. This was appropriate at the time and still is. When we had a lot of strife and division, this thing's what we gotta remind us we're all here together. I just made this one. This is a pretty recent one, Steve, that you just put out for Valentine's Day. I gave it to her instead of buying her a card. I made this. This is a funny one because I'm a golfer, and this is a funny one that I made quite a while ago, and enjoy that. So, a mail holder. I did a little different maybe design here. I'm not sure exactly, but it's our desk. Mail. I took the mail out of it though. What's this map? That's just a little cute one. I'm into one of my interests is astronomy or space related things, and I really like this one. I changed the wording on it a little bit, but and the font, but I get a lot of good looks on that one too. Let's see. Or the golf ball contained in the block. I've made several of these. What else? Up here at my son, I don't see this one, but some more space. I just need some space. You know, they got to help out the young man through the telescope. And life is too short for bad coffee. That's a pretty nice point. Well, I'm gonna, anyway. That's all I have. We have some more over here. This eagle. Who brought this in? I did, yeah. Oh, that's heavy. Good nice. I'll hold it for you, Jeff. Jeff just had some shoulder surgery, so he can talk to it.
The eagle was something I thought 5 or 6 years ago. And this was the background was a piece, Mike, what was his last name? He used to bring in the wood. That's a son.
Oh, Jim.
Jim, yeah.
Jim Elke.
Jim Elke, yeah. I bought this piece from him and just, the eagle looks like it's kind of a phoenix rising out of because of the rays in the wood.
That's beautiful.
Yep. This is another one from, I believe is yours that I made 4 or 5 years ago. Just something to occupy time.
You guys stay busy.
Well, I also have another one that I do of yours. Unfortunately, they've all been given away. I make several fish for a group called Fishing for Life that I'm a member of. And they have camps and tournaments for kids and disabled veterans and stuff. So I make about 80 or 90 trophies a year for this group. So, but unfortunately, I've given most of them away.
Thank you for that.
I want to talk about this pattern a little bit because I cut this, actually I cut two of these together and I mounted them on a stand. And actually we could put a plaque on it, and I made it for a person who got a double eagle at a golf tournament for a club.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
so that's when you get 2 under par. An eagle is 2 under par. No, 3 under par. So it was a two on a par 4, actually. It was a 1 on a par 4. 3 under par. Sorry, a little plus for you. 3 under par. It's a double eagle. It's also called an albatross. Then there's who brought in there's a letter. That did you know this one? This okay, here's a thankful one that Roger did. I think this was just last fall, this pattern came out. Yeah. Anyway, we have as you can tell, this is a small what I made. I've always ordered ornaments for my grandkids for Christmas, and I've done those, well, not every year, but almost every year. And those are all given away, of course. I just want to introduce our special guest today. This is the beginning of our presentation today. And Steve and I go way back. And Jade is going to show a picture here. Steve, I don't know if you remember this, but back in 2013, you had a contest. You put out on your. Remember that contest?
I remember it well. Yeah.
I was really green at this and, but I jumped on that. I said, I can do that. So I think you offered this for the first 5 people that submitted a picture with that cutout, you'd get send out a prize or award a prize to that group. And, so I submitted this picture. I think I was number 3 on the 5. And you looked at that picture and on my email, you saw my last name was Shay. You say, okay, so you're a golfer and your name is well, I had never heard that one before.
Yeah, those contests that I used to do, they were so much fun because you would get, entries from all over the world basically, and people like to modify the patterns, and that's always fun too.
Yeah. And, then there's another picture of you. This is one I met you in Dubuque at the trade show. You can see way in the back, you see the art factory. You can see that over my right shoulder. Yeah. So I asked you to have my picture taken with you, and you were very gracious enough to do that.
That was a fun show.
Yeah. That's the day I bought my Seiko saw down there. So you know how things are when consumers reports or something, they rank things good, better, and best. Well, in this case, good is better than better. Okay. So he's the rock star of the scroll world, also the Bruce Springsteen of the scroll world. He's a blue collar guy. He has hundreds of thousands of followers on his blog, maybe more. And if we had sold tickets for today's Zoom meeting, he would probably crash the ticket master.
You need to sit down.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'm so thrilled to have with us today Mr. Steve Pretty Good.
I certainly appreciate you all allowing me to come by, and getting to watch the presentation there was fun because it's crazy. When I started the blog back in 2007, there was no intention of anybody ever showing up. I was just teaching myself how to blog. I had no intention of even leaving it up. It was just, I was away in training when I was working for Xerox, and I just wanted something to do. And from that to people starting to show up, and then all of a sudden it becoming something that I was actually able to retire from my career early to do this full time. No intention and no belief that anything like that would ever happen. So getting to see what you guys do and realizing that my patterns will be around a lot longer than I'll be around. And it's just an honor to be able to do something that other people can enjoy. So I appreciate, all your kind words, and I certainly appreciate getting to see all the projects you made, because like I said earlier, there's a few thousand patterns out there now of mine, and a lot of them I honestly don't remember making. Some of you may know that I usually start working around midnight. That's when I start designing the patterns, and most of the posts go up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, something like that. So I think I'm half asleep when I'm doing some of them anyway, which is probably why I don't remember them, that and the fact that I'm getting older. So anyway, it's really fun to be here. And what I want to do, and I noticed that watching your presentation there, that some of you already, modify the patterns to add names to them. And that's one of the great things about the scroll saw, is it's the perfect tool for personalizing gifts for people. It's just because you can make unique things that people haven't seen before, and they don't have to be complicated. They can be simple. Just adding a name, to an existing pattern, or creating a small, simple pattern with somebody's name on it really means a lot to those people when they receive them. And for instance, the Christmas ornaments I do every year, I will put out probably 5,000 to 7,000 of those ornaments every year. So that right there tells you that people love personalized gifts. They love to make things that have people's names on them, or maybe a date or something like that. Really adds a lot to the gift. So what I want to do today is take you through very simple ways to create more personalized patterns using relatively easy software, as long as you're not trying to get too crazy with it. And it's all free software. So it's something that everybody that owns a computer, they can sit down with these pieces of software and personalize a pattern, or in some cases, create a completely new pattern, that you can give away as a gift. So to do that, I'm going to share my screen here so you can stop seeing my ugly face. And let me see if I can pull up the right screen. I think it's this one. And if somebody could tell me when they see my screen. It's getting there, I think. Looks like it's there now, is it?
We just see Zoom.
Okay, I'm going to get there in a second. And how about now?
Yeah. That was it.
Okay, I'm going to start out with a piece of software and a website that I put together, in one case several years ago, and in another case a little more recent. And these are just very basic pieces of software. And this one I wrote called Stencil Printer, and it basically just does keychains and nameplates. That's really all it's designed for. You can use it to make some signs and stuff, but if you had a pattern that you wanted to add a name to, you could pull up the stencil pattern program. Whoops. Sorry about that. And here's the name that is a stencil font, and you can use any font that's on your computer. And you can take this and you can see up here by the ruler how long it's going to be that you need to add to the space on your pattern. So all you would have to do is print this out, tape it over the top of the pattern, and you can customize that pattern with the name. These sliders down here just simply let you change the size of the font. You can change the blank width. If we wanted to make it smaller to make a keychain out of it, we can actually take and move this font until we get it centered, and then take the corners, round them off. And with the page outline turned on, it would print this out with the outline around this oval, and of course the font in the middle, so you could make a keychain. If you wanted to add a nameplate, you could select a different font. So you can see this is fairly easy to do. Let's go down to Arial, and we'll use Arial Black, and let's make it like a little bigger font, like a 72. And we'll make the blank width longer. We'll make the height bigger. And so now we've got this word on the screen, but we need a base under it to make a nameplate. So you go over here and you click on base on and off. And then if I take this font, position it where I want it.
Excuse me, Steve.
Yeah.
Can you make the your screen, the full screen for us? We're seeing in the desktop on your computer.
Tell me what you're seeing again.
We're seeing your desktop as a background with the program as like a pop-up screen, a lot smaller. I was wondering if you could make it full screen on your computer.
This particular program won't go full screen.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'm not a real good programmer. This is about as good as I can do. So in this case, to get this to go full screen, everything else had to be resized, and I wasn't smart enough to do that. So
okay. Sorry.
Steve, if you change your share screen to the scroll painter,
to just that program.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Let me see if I can figure out how to get back to that. Share screen.
Should be under the, if nothing else, you can start. There should be something in the share screen up at the top.
Oh,
Center.
it's at the top. I see. Let's go share your screen. Let's click that. Oops, it docked at the bottom. Didn't want to do that. I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. I'm going to start over.
Yep. That's probably the easiest.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to select that to share and hit this. Oh, all it did is put a highlight around it. Did that give you a full screen?
Yes.
Good,
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So anyway, this program is available on my website. It's free, and it will do name. And of course, we have to adjust the blank width here to make this fit and move the text back over. So there you've got a nameplate, that you could cut out and give to somebody as a gift. And of course, the keychain is the other option you can do with it. You can also turn on multi-line and, do more space or more characters like, let's see. Let's see, remember how to do it. I haven't used this stuff enough to remember how to do it myself. But anyway, you can do multi-line. I've got a video online that shows how to use this. And if you go to my blog on the main screen and just keep scrolling down way past the blog post, you'll find all this software available to download. There's a couple others too that just do keychains and key fobs, and one that does just nameplates. But this is the newest one. That's why I showed it. And it has a little more control. And when you get done with it, these buttons over here allow you to print it or export it as a PDF if you want to save it, whatever you need to do there. So that's the first program that I wanted to show you to get started with. Then if you go to, let me bring up my browser here. And now I'm going to go back and try to share this screen. Let's go here, share, and here, and tell me when you're seeing the.
You did a share screen on your browser
Yeah.
instead of but maybe that's all you can do here.
Yeah. Can you see the keychain or the key fob there on the screen?
Yeah, it's about a third of the screen though.
Okay, let me see if I can change that again then. Hang on a second. All this technology stuff, Let's go to, oh, not that. Here. Share. Tell me when.
It looks about the same as it was.
Okay. Well, anyway, this is really not important for me to show you how to use it because it really is so simple. But basically, I have a web page that has this piece of software on it. And what it allows you to do is keychains or nameplates, either one. It's as simple as that. But both of these are something that the Scroll Saw has been known for years, to make keychains and nameplates. People have been doing it forever. So if you go into this item right here, and type in your name, there's our keychain. And again, it's 3 inches long. And what you can do with this one is you can take and move this one down, then do add new, and add another one, move it down. And you can do as many of these as you want on a piece of paper. And then when you hit save and download, it will open that up as a PDF that you can print out or save. So that's what it does. So it's very simple. It takes really next to no computer knowledge to know how to do this. You can change the size of it. So these 3 sliders down here are just as simple as move it around, up and down, and then change the size. And you've got a guide up here as approximately how big the keychain would be. And of course, this would, if you wanted to do a larger one and let me change the font here.
What's the name of this program?
It's called Stencil Printer. And again, when you go to my website, let me see if I can get you a copy here of the URL that I can print out and make bigger. Not easily. I will make sure that Warren gets a copy of the link. You can find it on my blog, but like everything else on my blog, it's hard to find because it's, there's so much there right now. But I will get you a copy of this. And again, you can just print this out as a PDF or save it as a PDF and use this to, it only comes with the fonts that you see right here. There's not many extra fonts in this. That's why I went to the stencil printer, because that one can use any font that's on your computer. So there's 2 more options of ways to customize patterns to add to other patterns or as an individual gift of itself. So that's pretty simple to use. The next program I want to talk about and this gets a little bit more challenging depending on your computer skills, but Inkscape is a free vector graphics program, and there's two types of graphics programs. There's Bitmap, and they're the ones that you use to mostly edit photographs and stuff like that. And then there's vector graphic programs, and they're used to more like a CAD program to design things. Now, I use CorelDRAW for all my patterns because it's easier to use and more powerful, but it's also very expensive. So Inkscape does almost all the same things. It's just a little bit harder to use, and it's free. So it's hard to beat free. So I'm going to bring up Inkscape, and then I'll share the screen again here in a minute. Let's go to share screen, and we want to do this one, share. When you open Inkscape, it'll come up to this dialog right here, and you can just click on new document to get started. Now, you're going to see a ton of different, whoops, sorry about that. You're going to see a ton of different features here, but you only need a very small number of these features. Let me see if I can get rid of this over here because it's in my way. Does anybody know how to close down the photographs on the right? Let me see if I can just move them. Yeah, I just moved. That's all right. I just moved them to another screen. So all these tools right here are all things you can do in Inkscape, including drawing squares and circles and putting text on the screen and all that stuff. But you really don't need much of those to make a personalized gift. For instance, if we come up here and select a circle up here in the upper left-hand corner, and we come down and draw a circle on the screen, or an oval in this case, there's, the beginnings of a pattern. But in this case, we didn't want it to be oval. We wanted a circle. So while you're drawing that circle, if you hold down the control key on your keyboard, you can keep the proportions the same to make it a true circle. Up here in the left-hand corner, we have, and the way they do it on this piece of software is these two numbers up here are the radius of the circle. So in this case, it's from the center of the circle to the edge. So if you wanted a 4-inch circle, you would type in 2 here and 2 here, and there's a 4-inch circle on the screen. Okay, that's kind of cool. We could print it out and cut a circle, but it's a little bit boring. So let's go up here and click on our text tool, again, over here on the left. And I've got the Arial font selected in the heavy font, and I've got a font selected size of 48 up here, which is about the right size for a Christmas ornament. So we'll click on the screen, and we'll get our text on the screen that we want to cut out. We could put that right here in the middle, but in this case, it's not a stencil font, so it wouldn't work very well. Let me go up here, and I'm going to select the line and distribute. And again, I'm not trying to teach this to you. I'm just showing you the possibilities. But all I'm doing now is centering everything on the screen using my align and distribute. So now if I go over here and grab my rectangle tool, again, up here in the upper left, I can scroll in on this. I can make a box. I'm going to move the Warren out of the way for a minute. I'm going to select this, and I'm going to center everything up. Then with both of those selected, I'm going to go up and hit Path and Difference. Now I've got a blank in the middle of there that I can bring my text back over and move it down to right there where it's touching. I can go back and select all of this, come up to Path and Union. Now I've got a name in the middle of my ornament that makes it personalized. I can come up, select my square, put a square right here, and I don't want this one rounded over, so I'll move that up. I can select the center this like that. I mean, just center it on here like that. And again, I can go up here and weld this together, Path, Union. So you can see what I'm doing here is really not very technically challenging because I'm only using a couple of tools out of this software. So you open this program and it will appear that it's too complicated to use, but the reality is you're just using a small subsection of it. We can put that together. Now let's say that, we've got our ornament, but it's pretty basic. We can go online on the internet and type in snowflake silhouette. And it will bring up Google search with all the snowflakes on it. I don't know if you can see my screen now, but I'm just copying a snowflake off the screen. Copy image. Now I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to paste that into this page. Where'd my paste go? And you can see now this is a bitmap graphic. It's not a vector, so we can't use it. So if we just right click on this, we can go down and hit trace bitmap. It'll bring it up over here. All you have to do is hit apply. And now we have a vector graphics that we traced from that bitmap graphic that we got off Google. We can hold down our control key and take the drag bars, put this down to the size we need it to be. And we can go back to align and distribute. And I can do videos on any of this stuff if you want. So I've got that centered up. Now, if I select everything and go up here and do path difference instead of union, it'll cut that out. So it's a basic Christmas ornament, but it would definitely get you started into making. And again, I sell these Christmas ornaments every year for $1 a piece, but why do you want to pay me $1 when you can make them yourself? They're not that hard. So you could do this right here. And for all those people out there that are buying my ornaments, save yourself a few bucks and go make them. It works great. And again, you could add as much of this as you want. When you go to Google and you do a search, at the top up here, they've got these different items listed. And when you do a search, it brings up the text search. But if you just go up here and click on images, it will bring you to just the images. And the key is to use the word silhouette. So you just get black and white images. If you're going to do anything with the pattern other than make it for your personal use, if you go to tools, usage rights, and click on Creative Commons, it will only bring up the patterns that are technically under the Creative Commons and free to use. So when I use clip art off the web, that's the way I have to do it because I have to be really careful. In most cases, if you're just using it for personal use, it's not really a problem. But just about anything you want, you can get here. Let's say basketball player silhouette. Let's say we wanted to do a pattern for a young boy or a young girl who's, playing basketball and you want to get them a nice little gift trophy. We can go over here and copy this pattern. Really, I shouldn't have done it that way. That's a specialty tool. If you just go down, right click and do copy image, it'll copy it to your clipboard. Then you can go back in, paste this onto the screen, do the same thing we did with that last, where you right click and do trace bitmap. Come over here to apply. Now we've got a graphic that we can not only come down here to the color bar. If we right click, set fill, come over to black, right click, set stroke, and the stroke's too big in that case, but you get the idea. It made a stroke. So we could take this pattern, shrink it down, come back over here and do Warren 44, that's his number. Let's say we put that down there and we come back up here and drag our box up and we do a little box. Then we take this text and we can stretch it and make it as big or as small as we want. We move this down to where it's just touching, move this over, make this a little bigger. Select all of that. And go up here again to our path union. And there we have a pattern we could cut out with the young child's name and number on it. So again, these patterns are not difficult to make if you look at this software as being software that you don't have to learn the whole thing. The good thing about Inkscape is there's literally hundreds, if not thousands, of online tutorials on YouTube that will teach you different techniques of how to use it. So if you go to YouTube and just type in Inkscape tutorials, you will find everything you need to know. Inkscape is INKSCAPE.org. That's the URL to get to it. And I think it's available for Windows PC, obviously. It's available on the Mac, and I'm pretty sure they also have a Unix version or a Linux version if that's what you want, if that's what you use. So Inkscape is an awesome program. You can do any pattern that you've ever seen me make on my website. You can do it with Inkscape. I just don't use it because it's not, everything I do needs to be done quickly because I do it every day and it's part of my business. So I have to use a tool that's a little more powerful. You can get CorelDRAW, and I noticed one of you mentioned that you use CorelDRAW. You can get the basic version of CorelDRAW for around $100, and the older version's even less, but the full version is close to $500. So it gets a little out of the reach for people that are just wanting to make their own custom patterns. The next program that I want, and this, you can stop me at any time if you have questions, or if I know I went over this too fast, but if I stopped and tried to teach everything, this meeting would never end. So that's why this kind of, yeah, go ahead.
I am very well versed in Inkscape. So if any of the members in our club would like somebody to ask questions to, I'd be happy to help out.
Awesome.
Steve doesn't have to teach you everything.
Well, yeah, and there's plenty of tutorials out there. The problem are that some of the tutorials are terrible and some of them are good. You know, like everything else you find on YouTube, you got to find the right person. So if you got, I didn't catch your name, but if you got somebody locally there that can help you with this, this alone, using Inkscape, that one feature is, I think, the one tool that every scroll sawer should invest a little bit of time in, because personalizing patterns or coming up with a pattern for something that might be a little bit too unique for the pattern designers out there to deal with, because they're trying to sell their patterns, you know, and if it's not a common thing, they won't sell them. Now, in my case, because of my patterns are free, I can get a little out there with patterns and do stranger things, but there's some things you're just not going to find. So like if you wanted to do a logo for a school mascot, or, you know, something like that, you could do that in Inkscape using that trace feature. Because if you go find the logo, just right click on it and do trace, then you've got a vector graphic that you can change the size of or weld a name to or something like that. So it's great that you've got somebody there local that you can ask for help. Thanks for that. Okay, that's probably all I'm going to show in Inkscape. Let's go to a little bit more challenging program and a little bit more challenging of a pattern. But these are very popular patterns, and they're called loosely a portrait pattern. And a lot of people do make portrait patterns of people. That's very common. But you can also use these same techniques to do landscapes or buildings or whatever. So I'm going to pull up and show you a picture of what we're actually going to create here. Let me, let's see what I got here. Let's pull this one up first. That's the pattern that we want to end up with. Now, some of you may recognize, let me get to the sample so I can give you the double here. What we want to do is we want to take this photograph of John Wayne and turn it into a recognizable pattern that we can cut out. And you can see in this pattern that I created, there's very few cuts that have to be made here. There's probably, what, 20 cuts? So it doesn't take a lot of detail to get a resemblance of somebody that you can cut out. And in a lot of cases, these are memorial type patterns, or when we have soldiers that pass away overseas, there's a group that cuts out a picture for the family. So there's a lot of ways you can use these. You can do more than one person in a thing, but you don't have to get extremely detailed in these patterns to make them recognizable. So I want to show you the easiest way to do that. Let's go to, well, first of all, here's a cutout, or, you know, a fake cutout of that pattern we just did. And then the ornament. So you can see what those look like in wood, not real wood, but what looks like wood. When we bring up GIMP, and GIMP is another free program, and in this case, it is a bitmap-based program, which is normally used for editing photos. So when you bring this up, again, there's, you know, so many tools that it just looks overwhelming, but it's just like any other graphics program. It basically just lets you draw, is what it does. So what we can do is we can go over here and find a picture that we want of John Wayne. In this case, I'm just going to use this black and white photo that I got. And we want to take this pattern and draw on top of it until we get a pattern that we can cut out. Now, if you drew right on the top of this, like we could take our pencil here and we could draw here, but the problem is that we've still got the picture in the background. So when you print this out, you would have the black lines, but you'd also have the picture. So the way to get around that, we use what I call tracing paper and what they call in this program layers. And over here on the right side, we've got our layers palette, which is these buttons up here at the top. Hopefully you can see where my mouse is. The very left one is the layers tab. So if we click on that, there's the one layer that's actually open on the screen right now. But if we go down here to this create new layer and click it, and we can leave all this stuff the same because it comes up as a transparent layer. Now we've got two layers and the one on top is actually highlighted right here. So we can select these different layers. So the one on top, if I draw here now, if I turn off this layer, make it non-visible, all we have left is the pattern line. So what we can do with that is up here in these tools on the right, the one that looks like a triangle is the display navigation. When we zoom into this, we can take this little square over here and move it around. And I almost always start with the eyes because if you get decent eyes, everything else kind of falls in place. So now we're zoomed into the eye, which is where we want to make the pattern of. This list of tools over here, we only need the bucket fill, the pencil tool, and the eraser tool. So we only need actually 3 tools to make this pattern. And I'm not going to make you sit through the whole thing. I'm going to, give you the highlights of it, and then we'll back away and just look at the finished product. So in this case, I've got the pencil selected, and on these sliders down here, we've got a 2. So we can just go over here and draw and see how big that line is. And for me, that's a little big. So I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to set this down to a size of 1. Everything else you can leave the same. So now we've got a line that looks about like that. And it's obviously stair step, but it's close enough for what we're going to do. Because keep in mind, the pattern doesn't have to be perfect because we're just going to put this on a piece of wood and cut it out. So if we go up here and we think about what we want to draw our pattern around, just look at dark areas. Don't even look at this as an eye. Just look at it as we got a dark area here. We got a dark area here. We got a darker area up here by the eyebrow and maybe a couple more pieces. So if we just take our mouse, and again, if you have a very low quality mouse, this is a little harder to do. So if you have a decent mouse, it's a little easier to draw around these items. So all I'm doing right now is I'm drawing around what I see as a dark area, which is the top of the eye. So I'm going to make that like that. I'm going to come back around over to here, and we'll stop right there and finish that off right there. So now we've got the outline. If we go over here and select our bucket fill tool, we can click on that and fill it in. And if we go back to our layers and turn the picture off, there's our pattern for our eyeball. Just that simple. So we're going to do a little bit more of that. I'll go up here and do the eyebrow next. Remember to select the pencil again. And I'm not getting crazy here. I'm not trying to get too detailed. I'm just giving you the highlights of what this eyebrow would probably look like in a pattern. Again, we go back to our bucket fill that in. There's our eyebrow. We probably want to add a little bit of detail over here. Back to our pencil. We'll go up here, maybe something like that. And you can see I'm not taking a lot of time because I don't have to. Because when you cut this pattern out, and there's also shortcuts to all these things too, like the bucket is Shift B. And usually this is what I'll do. I'll go back and forth just with the highlights. And the pencil tool is an N. So when I get ready to go back to the pencil, I just use the keyboard so I don't have to keep going back up here. So let's go back over here to our tool, zoom out a little bit. We probably need to get these wrinkles in here a little bit. And when you're making these patterns, you always want to make sure you try to leave a section that's big enough to get your drill bit in. And I usually get down to a 1/16 inch drill bit. So when I'm drawing, I want to make sure that I leave a little bit larger area depending on the size of the pattern. So in this case, I'll probably make that rounded off just a little bit. Fill that in. Back, I'm using the shortcut keys, back to the pencil. And one thing you can do here, like say, I'm going to make that a little bigger right there. I'm going to fill that in. What you can do also, if you want very fine lines, you can come over here and say, make, whoops, Control Z, because I had the bucket selected. You can come over here and take this, draw it like this, and then fill that in, go back to your pencil tool. And once you have a place to enter your drill bit, then everything else after that can just be a line. So you cut this out, then you do a cut where you come along and cut that line if you want very fine lines. When it gets to something like the hair, you don't have to get detailed in hair at all when you're working on a scroll saw project. Just simply outline the dark area of the hair like this. Go back over to my layers, turn the picture off, scroll out. You can see we've got the beginnings of our pattern now. And I do that fairly frequently. I'll go back and forth between having the picture. Oh, let me show you how to do that. Over here in the layers, this little eyeball right here turns that layer on and off, makes it visible. When you finally get your pattern done, let's go up here and open the pattern. When you finally get your pattern completed and you get ready to print it out, turn this off, and when you hit print, it will only print out the black and white portion of your pattern. So as long as this isn't visible, it won't print out. So you can see there in just a matter of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, probably 20 interior cuts, you've got at least a recognizable image of John Wayne. And all you have to worry about when you're doing a scroll saw pattern of a portrait is to make it recognizable. People don't care about the detail. Now, if you want to sell these patterns to somebody that wants to cut very detailed patterns, that's a different story. But the people will still love these because they're recognizable and they're a customized type of pattern that you can, cut out and give to them as a gift. And these are especially nice as memorial type projects. If you lose a family member in the war, or something like that, people love to have a memento. And of course, once you get done, you can add text down here. You can add their name at the bottom and all that stuff. So these are just some simple ways to get started with creating custom patterns. This is probably the most complex of the bunch, simply because it does take a little bit of skill to use your mouse to trace around these dark areas. But don't overcomplicate it. Don't try to make them too complex, because you don't need that in a portrait pattern. Anybody have any questions at this point? Let me get a drink.
The GIMP has lots more power. I noticed that as you were tracing black lines on top of nearly black photos, you can change the pen color. So you could make it a brown or something like that, so you can see what you've drawn, and you can change all the colors afterwards.
Yeah, here's what he's talking about. If I were to have done this in red, and which is what I usually do them in red, and I created all these outlines in red, then they don't blend in with the photograph as you're making your drawing, is what he's talking about. So you can see when
you're tracing your lines on top of
so in this case, if I wanted to draw around this lower area with my pen tool, watch what he's talking about here. Now that I've got red selected up here, when I make this trace, it's very easy to follow the black outline, because your pen not being black makes it stand out. That's what he's talking about. And that is the way I normally do it. I'm trying not to let when I did a complete tutorial on GIMP on how to make portrait patterns, it was almost an hour and a half long. It was a long tutorial. So I'm trying to.
I'm just saying there's a lot more power. There's ways to make certain things easier. We can't get into everything.
Yeah. Also, what people used to do is they would just use the threshold tool. Let's see if I'm smart enough to figure out where that is. View
Often under
colors,
filters.
threshold. You can just use the threshold tool. Where's it at? Oh, it's down here somewhere.
Are you on the right layer? It's trying to modify your.
Yeah,
there you
yep. Thank you for the help. In the old days, we'd just do that, and that was our pattern. And then we would make all the edits, and you can change the level of the threshold by doing this. So you can make it like that. That was a 2-second portrait pattern that you could print out and cut. And because you can make edits on the fly when you're at the scroll saw, this actually works fairly well. So, if, you know, I think it's better to do the tracing the outlines, but this will actually get you started just using the threshold tool. So, and then another thing that a lot of people do is if this photograph happens to be in color, a lot of times it's better to take and convert it to a grayscale, which you do up here somewhere too. I'd have to go back and find all this stuff. And there's somewhere in here where you can convert, maybe because this already is grayscale, it won't let me do it, but you can convert a color program to a grayscale, which allows you to see the contrasting of dark and light. Then what you can do is you can actually change the contrast of the photograph inside of GIMP to make the dark stand out more. Because in some cases, in some of these areas, like say, maybe we're, whoops, almost know what I'm doing here. Like in this area right here, there's not a lot of contrast, so it's a little harder to see. So if we were trying to draw around this, if this contrast was a little stronger, it might be easier to follow the pattern. So there's a lot of things you can do to prep the photograph before you start. And the other thing that's important is to select a photograph that it has enough resolution that you can bring it in and draw. If you had a thumbnail photograph and you brought it in, by the time you blow it up and start drawing your pattern on it, it's going to be so pixelated you won't be able to find enough detail to draw around. So when you take a picture with your camera, or if you scan an old photograph in, you want to make sure that it's, you know, somewhere over 1,000 pixels tall. That's usually about the minimum size. You could get smaller than that, but you'd have to start making a lot of guesswork. This particular photograph here, I think, is 1,600 pixels tall, but almost all digital cameras do much higher detail than that. So it's generally not a problem with, as long as you do the photograph yourself. And if you use a scanner on your, like if you have those all-in-one printers that has a scanner on it, just scan it in at 300 DPI and you'll be fine. So you want the photograph to be something like, if you went and selected a photograph, let me try to find something. If we went to Google and we selected images on famous people, some photographs would be easier to deal with than others. If you have a very, I'm trying to find one here. These are all pretty good photographs, but the less detail you have, like this would, you could probably do that one too. You don't want something that's too busy, and you don't want something that's too washed out. You know, you want a photograph that has some contrast to it. Like this would be a good program, a good photograph to change to black and white or change to grayscale, because there's pretty good contrast in there. That would work pretty well.
Ones where the hair blends in with the background makes it very difficult.
Yeah, if you can find a photograph like Oprah here where the background is white, that's perfect. That's what you want. But whereas if you have a photograph that has a very busy background, it's hard to find them when you actually want it. Like this one right here, the background is blurred, which would help a little bit, but this would be a little bit more difficult to do, because a lot of times when you're making these portraits, let me go back to GIMP. When you're making these portraits, you'll actually take your pencil, and instead of just drawing around this right here, you might get up to here and then come out and make that area. Whoops. Anyway, I did it on the wrong layer, but you get the idea. If I filled that in right there, it would give me a background of black, because usually you'll put a black or a color board behind the cutout, usually black. And this would be like a boundary of the head. So if you had very low detail here and you needed some more contrast over on the left, you could do that. So that's why you don't want too busy of a background. But most all of these photographs can be done. It's just some will require more guesswork. And you can sometimes just do grayscale and just come up with the grayscale photographs, which makes it a little bit easier. I've done this Einstein before. No, it's this one I did. I think that picture was 614 by 600, and that was big enough because the contrast is so good in the photograph. Let's see what else we got. Muhammad, that would be a poor one to do because the contrast is too low. It would be hard to do. This one still, again, the contrast in the face would be difficult. There would be more guesswork involved in that. And so this one you could probably do, but you'd end up cutting out this whole black piece back here probably, and then just doing detail in the face. So there's different ways to do it. They all work. And the more detail you add, makes it more interesting to look at, but it doesn't always help the recognition. And when you're doing portraits for people, like say if you're doing your grandchild or you're doing a family portrait, what they care about is the recognition of the people in the final product. So that's more important than the detail. So again, GIMP is free, and it is at, let me get back to it here. If you just type in GIMP into Google, it's the very first one that comes up. Another program that's extremely popular, it's not as advanced as Photoshop, but it's not far behind it. And it's free. So, and I think it is also available for the Mac. Let's see what it's all available for. I know it's Windows. I thought they had a Mac version, but maybe they don't. I don't see one if they do. Oh yeah. No, that's a Microsoft version. Yeah, directly. Oh, there they were. I'm sorry, I missed it. It's available for Mac OS, Microsoft Windows, and Linux. So it has versions for all three operating systems that are common out there. And I wouldn't say this program is as essential for a scroll sawer as Inkscape, simply because you're only going to really use GIMP for portrait style patterns. And if you've ever seen any of the real advanced portrait style patterns, like the ones that Charles Deering does, you can get extremely detailed. Let's see if I can scroll down to one here that, I mean, Charles does these incredibly detailed patterns, but people that buy these patterns from him, they're more interested in the fun of cutting this pattern, I think, than they are making the pattern to give as a gift, because you're talking a lot of work here to cut all these interior cuts. There's probably a couple thousand interior cuts in this pattern. So you can get that detailed if you want. And if you're going to sell patterns, then obviously that would, make them more marketable. Do you guys know Charles Deering? Have you ever? Anyway, he's very good. I think it's, what is his webpage? Wooden Designs, I think, or something like that. But if you just type in Charles Deering, you can get to his website. He has hundreds of these patterns for sale. So if you're interested in cutting very complex, and almost always cut with a spiral blade and not a flat blade. So as most of you know, the spiral blades take a little more practice to get good with. Here is a picture that we did at one of the trade shows we were at. Let's see if we can blow this up. It has some of the pretty good pictures in it. That isn't going to show the picture. But this picture right here, if I can blow it up enough to get to it. We were at a trade show, and this is terrible resolution that I've blown it up. But he was displaying all these photographs, and you can see this photograph or this cutting right here was probably 2 foot by 3 foot. The Willie Nelson one's a little smaller, but these are huge pieces. And to do that, obviously you have to use a spiral blade because you can't turn the board. But he has thousands of these portrait style patterns available. And he also, if you're interested and you want a more detailed pattern of a family member or something like that, he does create these patterns for people from their photographs. So if you ever are interested in getting one of the best in the world at what he does, to do a portrait pattern for him, and he can do whatever size you want. They don't have to be this big. These are hard to cut because they're so big. So again, any more questions about patterns? What I want to do next is, let me bring up the browser. I want to give something away. That's always fun. Let's start out with this one right here. Copy, paste. All these giveaways that I'm doing today are all things that I use. And so they're all things that I've, like this particular apron right here, the Bucket Boss. If you wear an apron in the shop, and I know a lot of people don't, but I do, I just hate getting that dust everywhere on my clothes. So I wear an apron. This is the one that I like the best, not necessarily because it's the best quality, although the quality is really good, but it's only $22, $23. It's really an inexpensive apron. And I've probably in the 15 or so years I've been using them, I've probably gone through 4 or 5 of them. But when I get done and I've got glue in my hands, I just wipe it on the apron because for $23 and they last 2 or 3 years, I don't care how dirty it gets. I'll just buy another one when it gets too gross. So I really like this apron. It's got a couple small pockets on it. It crosses in the back. And as you can tell, I'm a fairly large person and they fit me. So if they fit me, they're going to fit all you guys. So it fits up to a 52-inch waist, which I'm not even that big. So, so it fits a lot of people. So, however, Warren, have you figured out how to do a drawing for these giveaways?
Yeah, we're ready for it.
If you can get over closer to the microphone also, Warren.
We're just making sure we got everybody who's on into the drawing. It looks like David, Danny, Mike, we got the most. Is there one more on there?
Who's East?
Who's E-Stop?
I can't understand.
Can you unmute?
We'll just have that. Can you hear us, Steve?
I'm having a hard time hearing you because the microphone's not picking you up.
Oh, okay. I don't know what's changed, but
Yeah,
That's
that's better.
good. That's good
Oh.
there.
okay. Anyway, we're pretty much ready for the drawing here.
Okay, I got a few of them to do, so let's start out with the apron here.
Here, Steve, draw somebody. Clint, you get an apron.
And Warren, if you can email me the address, hopefully they'll allow me to use their address. If you don't want to give me your address and you would rather just have a Amazon gift card in place of the apron, if you don't like the apron and you don't use them, or you just want a gift card, I can do that also. So either send me your mailing address and I'll send you the apron, or send me the email address and I'll give you a gift card.
Okay, so we'll send Steve your address and we got it on the roster. Okay, good.
Okay, let's do another item and then we'll do questions real quick. Again, this is a product that I use, so that's why I brought it out. And everybody can use more quick clamps. So I think everybody will want these. So let's do a drawing for the Irwin quick clamps and make sure when you send me the email, it lists what they won.
Okay. So the winner of the clamp.
Never have enough of those.
We can't understand what you're saying.
Yeah, you got to stay right in front of the microphone.
Okay, I'm sorry. Jeff Dad is the winner of our clamps.
Congratulations, Jeff. And you didn't even want to come, and then you turn around and win something. Okay, I've got a few more giveaways, but let me go to one more thing that I wanted to discuss. Let me scroll back down here to a reasonable size. This is, tell me if you can see my screen and my website.
Yes.
What I want to do is, for the people who may not have been to my website, my son-in-law is a website designer, and every time he looks at my webpage, he just pleads with me to let him fix it because he says it's the third ugliest site on the internet. And and that's because I did it all myself, and I'm not very skilled at that. So it's very busy, and people tend to get lost in it sometimes. So I wanted to take just a couple of minutes, not too long, to just show you where things are and how to navigate this thing a little bit, because it is definitely a 1995 based internet style, which is way different than they do things today. But as you log into my page, which is scrollsawworkshop.blogspot.com, of course, you come across the header up here. This just announces who it is. The very first button right here, if you click on that, it will take you to the login page where you can sign up to get every blog post that I post gets turned into an email and sent out to the people at 7 a.m. Eastern time in the morning. So if you don't want to have to remember the URL and go to my blog every day to get the next pattern, you can come over here and fill this out. And I have a service that I pay that actually takes the blog post, turns it into an email, and sends it out. So that's how you become a subscriber to the site. It's free. And the only problem that I really have with it is the emails look spammy to some of the spam filters because they have advertisements in it. So occasionally you won't get one because the spam filter will block it. So if that happens, look in your spam box and see if it's there. I deal with that about a dozen times a week, trying to get that fixed for people. After that, then the next section over here in the middle is actually that day's pattern. So if you look up here at the very top, this will show you the date right here of the last pattern that I put out. And I didn't do one last night because here in Southern Indiana, we had windstorms yesterday that were unbelievable. Our power went out about 10 times during the day. So every time I'd get working on the pattern, the power would go out and I'd have to sit there and wait for it to come back on. So I gave up on last night. So anyway, the very first section is that daily pattern. And I do this intentionally. People get frustrated with me, but I have to do it this way. This is what the pattern looks like, but you have to go all the way down here to these buttons to download it. Now, the reason I do that is because it takes you past stuff I sell. So yes, that's why I do it. So yes, every day I get an email saying, would you please put these buttons at the top? No, I won't, because then I'll go broke. So you don't have to buy anything. These patterns are free. You don't have to donate. You don't have to pay. Those are all optional things. So never feel like you have to donate or buy anything that I sell. You don't have to. So that's you can set it up to do as many of these posts on a page that you want, but I have it set up to just do one post. So once you get down to the bottom of this post, which is designated right here by this black bar, that's the end of that day's post. Below this black bar are just advertisements and stuff that I give away and sell. You don't ever have to go down. There's the stencil printer that we talked about. There's the video below the stencil printer that shows you how to use it. And I wrote this software back in 2005 or 2006. It's really old. So I don't support these down here with newer computers. They work on newer computers most of the time, but not all print drivers will work with it. So they're still here because people still want to come back and get them because they've been using them for years. So here's the one that does just the key fobs. Here's the one that does the oval key fobs. So all that stuff, and the rest of it's just all advertisements and how to use these pieces of software. And there's the hit counter. I'm now at 14,255,000 visits. So that's everything that's below that black bar. When you get to that black bar, which is the end of the post, you'll have links on here. If you click older post, it takes you back to the day before. So there's the day before. Again, you can scroll down. When you get to this black bar again, you can either go to the newer post, which will take us back where we were, or back. You could literally do this for all 4,900 and whatever posts that I posted. by going through it that way. That would be pretty complicated, but you could do it. And at the end of every year, when I update my catalog, I do that. But over here on the left-hand column, starting at the top, this right here is, again, just a subscriptions where you can subscribe, same as this up here. This is the donate button. Again, optional. Don't feel like you have to donate. If you want to email me, you can click that button. If you want to search the blog, say like we wanted to search for cats, type in cats, hit search. It will bring up every post since 2007 that had to do with cats. So you can go through, and again, there's a lot of them, so be prepared. Cats and dogs are the two most popular themes. And again, you get down to this black bar, hit next, and it'll keep going back through all the cats. So you can search my blog, and you can search it for specific items. And the more detailed you get in the what you type in over here, the more detailed the search will be. Below that is an ad for Bear Woods, ad for Seiko, some guy that makes puzzles. Here's my free pattern catalog. It's listed here, and it's also listed up here. So these buttons up here are links to different sites. So this is my pattern catalog, and this is where most people want to go. So you go to this page, it shows the last 12 patterns that I put out, and you can search for things up here in a category or under all. You can select the number of hits you want to see. So we'll set it to 48. We'll come over here in the search, type in basket, hit search, and it'll bring up every post that had something to do with the word basket. So that's how you find the stuff that's on my blog. These are all the patterns that are available. And again, there's 3 pages of 48 with basket in it. So it does give you the ability to narrow things down. If I wanted to search for the word basket only in the baskets category, click that, then we just get the basket, for the most part, we just get baskets. You can see that's how you search through my catalog. Use this next button and back button. Don't use your back arrows. They will, like right now, if I go up here and hit back, well, I can't hit back because I opened it in a new page. But if I hit my back button, it'll take you to the last web page. Whereas if you hit this, it'll take you back and forth between the patterns that you've been to. So very simple. Go back to home. There's the new patterns. You got the search box. You got the categories listed there, not in alphabetical order, but I'll fix that one day. And the number of search you want to see per page. So that's how you get to my catalog. The next button over here is the community forum. I don't know how many subscribers we got now. Let's see if it says here. There's 179,000 posts, 3,414 members. Most of those people aren't active, but it is a pretty active forum. If you go here and you type in, let's just do general scroll saw talk, it will, and see, this is all spam here. It's becoming a real problem to kill these spammers. But anyway, if you can get past all this gibberish, and I'll delete these now. This is an everyday thing. I spend, I don't know, 30 minutes every day trying to keep the forum cleaned up. It's almost impossible. Since that war started over in Ukraine, the cybersecurity problems have tripled. So anyway, that's the forum. You can click the YouTube. It will take you to my YouTube channel. And I don't know how many, I've got several hundred videos. If up here at the top, if you hit video, it'll show all the videos, and you can scroll down until you find something you're interested in. This is where I do the reviews of scroll saws and different tools. I'll show some patterns and how they're put together. There's all kinds of stuff on here, but there's several hundred of these. And you might find something new. Like here's a review of the Pega scroll saw. The next column over is one of my most popular items that I sell. And again, I apologize for making this a sales pitch, but this is just where it is. These basket patterns have become very popular. I have 2 books of these. Each one of them has 8 patterns in each one, I guess it is. And they're all different styles of vases. Like this particular vase here, I think is 21 inches tall, all the way down to very small vases. And I know I saw that a couple of you have made these already. So they're pretty popular. And then last, we got the pattern DVD. I no longer sell the DVD. I just haven't updated that link yet. Now it comes on a USB drive and not a DVD because DVDs are disappearing, which I remember when DVDs came out and thought they were incredible, but now they're all gone just about from a computer. So that's the links up there at the top to get to things quickly. As we scroll down through here, here is what I call my scroll saw school. And these are just very basic videos of what's in these topics right here. So lesson 1 is scroll saw blades, lesson 2, scroll saw blades, lesson 3, applying scroll saw patterns. So you can see it's the very basics. So if you get a new member who's just getting started in the scroll saw, you can come here and view these videos.
In this video, I want to talk a little bit about applying the patterns that you have.
So you can see they're very basic, but something for a new user to see. And this one's just a piece of software I wrote years and years ago that it just simply plays a pit. You know how they used to tell you to pluck your scroll saw blade until you get the note C? Well, who knows what the note C sounds like? I didn't. So I wrote a program that just plays the note C while you sit there and pluck your blade. It's stupid, but anyway, that's what it is. This list right here is every post from every year that I've ever done. So if you want to go back through an older year, you can come over here. Like in 2007, I started on May the 1st of 2007. So if you wanted to see the very first post I ever made, you'd click that link and there's the first pattern. That's what got this all started. So that was 2007, May 1st. So it goes back a long ways. And if you go back again, you can open up any year. And this number here beside it is a number. Let me scroll in a little bit. This number here beside it is the number of posts for that year. So you can see my highest year was, what was it? What's a good one? 300.
47.
2010 was 367 patterns. So I did more than one a year that year. So, and it's kind of funny. I come from a family of addictive people that have had problems with drugs and alcohol. Luckily, I've never had that problem. But what I do have is a problem of getting addicted to making patterns. So I've actually, since 2007, I've designed a pattern every 1.2 days. So I'd say if that doesn't end up calling yourself an alcoholic, I don't know what does. But so, and that's what's made my blog as whatever success it's had, is that I'm just so prolific, because a lot of my patterns are obviously not detailed patterns or very specifically advanced patterns. They're all basic patterns, but because they know that they're free, and then if they come back tomorrow, they can get a different one. They don't care if the one they saw today looked terrible. It's just like, whatever, they didn't pay for it. You know, the best thing about my blog is I've never had anybody ask me for their money back. So that works pretty good. Let's see, as we go down through the page, there's where this was funny. This WWGOA, which is a pretty major woodworking website, they did a best website contest one day, and my blog is tiny compared to some of the big work, you know, like the wood turners and the furniture makers. They'll have hundreds of thousands of followers, whereas, you know, mine is in the, you know, close to 100,000, but you know, it's small compared to the big ones. So anyway, they put my name in as one of the entries for this, and I was like, it should have been at the very bottom of the list. I got on the blog and said, hey, you know, they've made me a contestant here. You know, if you like my blog, vote for me. And I ended up winning the stupid thing. So that was fun. I beat out Izzy Swan and all the big guys. That was cool. So as you go down through, here's the order form for the medallions. And these are, again, stuff I sell. So these are just little 1-inch wooden coins that you can embed into your projects when you make them. So 100 years from now, when somebody says, oh, you know, I think that guy might have been my great grandfather. So that's what it is. It's just a way of signing your work. Again, this is where you can go and order the catalog. Every year I update the catalog with that year's patterns. And the update charge is $20. There's no reason to buy this catalog. These are only the patterns that are available for free in my online pattern catalog. It's kind of a funny story how this started. I had a lady, this is several years ago, kept emailing me, said, can you please send me all your patterns? And I said, they're free. Just go get it. She'd pay me for them. And so finally I asked her, I said, why do you want this when they're all available for free? She said, she typed to me, she said, because you're going to die one day and they're all going to go away. I thought, well, dag. So she told me that I needed to make these free patterns available. And of course, to do that, I had to charge for them because it is a tremendous amount of work to burn the DVDs. I've got a whole USB burning station over here, and it takes hours to get these things done. So I do charge for them. But if you actually care and you want the patterns offline for when you go to your retreat and you take your saw with you or whatever, if you want these patterns available at home, they are available, but you don't have to buy them. They're still all free online. Let's see what else we got here. This is a video that explains how the catalog works. There's my wooden vases, Seiko ads. I always put at least one Amazon ad at the bottom because I am an Amazon affiliate and I get paid when you buy my products. So if you're going to buy from Amazon, I appreciate it if you support me too. More ads. And again, these are why I end up getting it in your spam folder sometimes, but these are the books, and that's the order form for those vases. Here's a video showing how to build the vases and all this. They're pretty simple to build, but if you want to know, there's the video that shows you how to do it. This is confusing too. I also sell a $3 PDF catalog. And what this is just a huge PDF that has thumbnails of all of my patterns. So when you go to that catalog, you saw how we were searching in the online catalog. It can take forever to search for a specific pattern. This $3 catalog every page has like 30 different thumbnails on it with the name of the file below it. So all you have to do is download this catalog. You can scroll through all 500 pages of it or whatever it is and look at the thumbnails of each one. As soon as you see the one you want, it comes with this little program that you can type in the name that's under it and it'll download it for you. So that's all it is. Again, it's not something you need. It's just a convenience thing. And we're down to more of that software, the t-shirts that I sell, all the more marketing stuff, videos. And here's something that's the disclaimer that I was required to put on here. The Scroll Saw Workshop blog is in no way affiliated with or sponsored by Scroll Saw Woodworking and Craft magazine, formerly Scroll Saw Workshop magazine. When I started this blog, I never had any intention of anybody ever showing up. I was just playing, but I named it Scroll Saw Workshop with the scroll saw, which is actually 2 words as 1 word. And they sent me an email saying, you can't do that. That's our name. And I said, oh, okay, I'll change it. And they said, no, don't change it. Just put this little disclaimer down there. So they were really nice to me because they didn't have to let me keep the name. So and I apologize for making this so long, but again, the website, a lot of people go to it and they don't see a lot of these features because it's kind of a busy website. So anybody have any questions on the website? Or just questions about what I do and how I make my money, or what I think about certain types of patterns. Patterns are kind of a mixed blessing because depending on the pattern I put out, I will occasionally get death threats, believe it or not, because of patterns. So those are some interesting stories. If you ever want to hear that, that's crazy. If I do a religious pattern, I take a beating for about a week. I've had the chief of the Cherokee Nation email me because I did an Indian pattern one time, and he convinced me he was right. So I took the pattern down. So it's amusing, not amusing. It's interesting to talk to these people that have different opinions and views of you. I try to keep all the patterns fairly non-controversial. I don't do many or any political patterns unless it's very obscure, just simply because nobody wants to come to my website and hear an opinion. They just want to get their patterns. So I try to keep everything pretty calm. everybody's entitled to their own opinion, and they certainly don't need my uneducated opinion. Again, when I started the blog in 2007, I was in training up in Washington, D.C., and we had a huge complex up there that was on like 100 acres of land and a building out in the middle of it. So, you know, if you flew up there, which we usually did, and you were there, you were either in the building or you were out walking in the woods. And I got up there and I wanted to start a blog because just to teach myself how to do it. And I opened the blog and I created it, but then I had to think of a title or a theme for the blog. And I had not too many years before that started scrolling, but just kind of occasionally. And so I just made the blog about scroll saws. And then I kind of pretty much just played with it. And then all of a sudden people started showing up. And the first year it was, you know, obviously pretty slow, but it started growing exponentially there those first few years. And then that's when I realized that, you know, when I retired, I had a business that I could fall back on as, you know, a supplementary income. And when I retired, it was able to replace my income. So that was really nice. So I call myself one of the luckiest people because I'm doing something that I would be doing anyway, and I'm earning a living doing it. So I don't know how you get that lucky, but I just fell into it. Any questions?
Thank you very much, Steve. I don't know. Anybody have any questions? I learned some things on the website for sure. I've been looking at it for a long time and I learned some things. So,
well, again, I designed the website and that's why it is the way it is. If my son-in-law would, if I would allow him to do it, but the problem is my blog comes back as my whole thing is, it has to be my reputation as being somebody you can trust. Otherwise I make no money. If you don't trust me, because everything's donation, nobody gives somebody a donation if they don't trust them. You know, now I do obviously make money from advertising and stuff like that, but the primary income from the blog are donations. And, you know, the last thing I want to do is make somebody mad. That would be dumb. So.
Well, you do it very well. So
thank you.
We all thank you for that.
Thank you. I hope I didn't overstay my time. I apologize. I'm kind of a motor mouth.
Well, we pretty much run out of our time here for our room. So, I want to thank you very much. And did you have another giveaway?
You've got off the mic. Yeah, we got a couple more giveaways. You've got off the microphone. You got time? Because I at least want to do the bigger one. Let's do this one next real quick. I apologize for taking so long. Let me share my screen one more time and go here and share. And this thing has been really useful because you can actually clamp it to a desk and use it as an upright spindle sander, which I use all the time. It's called what I call my mistake eraser. If I make a mistake, I just erase it with this thing. Well, I've got other sanders too, but I use this quite a bit. So this is a pretty handy tool. So if you want to draw for this, we'll give this one away. And again, I need your address to send it to you. If you don't want to give your address, you want a gift card, we can do that too.
Okay, well, the winner, we already had a drawing for this, and Katie McBride. Oh my God. Okay.
And we'll do one more here just because I like to get at least one safety device in. Please wear your face mask or your dust mask or your nuisance mask when you're in the shop. I had a good friend pass away not too long ago with a lung disease that was attributed to his multi-year career in woodworking, and dust particles in his lung triggered this disease. So please consider your health. I know we're all getting a little older and we're a little more susceptible to illness anyway. So this is the dust mask that I use when I'm emptying my vacuum cleaner. Anything that provides heavy dust, I use this type of mask. I'll use a nuisance mask for when I'm scrolling, but my plea is to please use your dust mask. As a matter of fact, let's do the drawing for this one, and I'm going to bring up one more.
Okay, the winner of this is Don Gore.
Congratulations. Let's do this one. Let's see if I can bring this one up real quick. This is something that I have in my shop and I use it when I'm in there. You hang it from the ceiling or you set it on a bench somewhere and it turns over the dust in your reasonably, if you've got a 2-car garage, this is powerful enough to turn over the dust in it every several minutes. It's a 400, 300, 350 and 400 CFM dust collector. And I'd love to give one of these away because I know that it will improve your shop. So let's.
We have a winner for this one. Gail Kell.
He already has one of these, he says, so,
Okay, well, the gift card, it's worth $132. So that'd be a nice gift card if he wants that.
That's awfully generous.
that's very generous of you, Steve.
Oh, you're more than welcome. Well, now keep in mind, it's not all generosity. I'm not paying for any of this stuff. It's all either a tax write-off or it's being sponsored by other people. So don't think I'm really a nice guy. I'm not.
We'll be back next week.
And again, you're getting away from the microphone, so I can't hear you.
Okay,
I don't get it.
all right, we were just, we feel ready to wrap up here, I guess, but thank you very, very much.
Thank you guys for having me. And I, again, apologize for being so long-winded, but you'll know better the next time.
Thanks, Steve.
To you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to hang up so I won't get in your way because I'm liable to start talking again. So I'll hang up and let you guys finish your meeting. Thanks, guys.
Katie, I still have something for the woodcarver show.
That's right. Yes. Something about the wood.
Want to say, go ahead, Mike.
It's gonna take a while.
How long do you need, Mike?
Why isn't this working? Let's see. Did you guys know?
I can't, it doesn't seem to be, oh, not the right place.
Can you hear us, Mike?
Evidently not.
Poster.
Mike, were you able to hear us?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, do you have this on your screen?
yes, we do.
Okay. The Woodcarver Show in Rochester is coming up in 3 weeks. We have a free show. We welcome anybody that would like to come down to Rochester Saturday and Sunday, the 25th and 26th. We're open from 10 till 4. If you've got any more questions, you can get hold of me or go to rochesterwoodcarvers.com. So, thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Don Gore wanted to mention that the state fair, he wants to promote us getting our stuff in, like Clint has. Get a hold of Don if you want to be involved and enter something into the state fair because it's available.
And I don't have too much else, I guess. I went and saw Phil Guard just this past week. He's in there. So anybody that wants to go visit him, please let me know. I can get you all the information. Ellen Crickle's gonna have our books sometime after April, so she volunteered to do that. Thanks, she's gonna be here today. And we don't have time to do the tip of the day, but we'll pick up the next one. Okay. So thank you everybody for attending. And I have a motion.
I got a comment. It's my understanding that we normally give $75 to the speaker. My understanding Steve Good does not want any stipend. He has a donation site, and I highly suggest that we give somebody donate $75 if you decide, and then come back and collect the money from our club.
We'll do that. We can afford a 75 bucks and we could have paid him, he would not accept it, he said.
And I think Warren did a fantastic job of putting this whole thing together with Steve Good. Let's give him another applause.
So I have a motion to,
Bye, Katie. You can stop recording.